This video was a Patreon request from Delinquent. Welcome back to the Many Toys Of, the show in which we go over the action figure history of various Transformers characters. And it's time to talk about one of my absolute favorite characters in the entire series, one of my favorite Decepticons, and my favorite member of a combiner team. It's time for the Many Toys of Scrapper. Before we begin, a big thank you to Mr. Man Person Guy 5812, Tanner Jackson BAG, Totally Not Xfinity, and of course, my producer Delinquent. Thank all of you so much for giving me an excuse to talk about the Constructicon engineer. From the moment I laid eyes on him, I've always loved Scrapper. When I was rewatching the G1 cartoon as a kid and I came across Heavy Metal War, it was love at first sight. For one thing, his voice was just so fun.
Right! No one drives us, stupid human! All present or accounted for, noble leader! I am honored to serve Megatron.
Scraper report!
Let's scrapper, you asshole!
Michael Bell found that perfect gravelly tone for Scrapper. It makes him sound cool and yet still so characterful. Alongside that, his design is incredibly strong. I feel like nobody talks about how good a robot mode Scrapper has. He looks so unique. He could be the main character in some other thing, and yet he's just another Transformer here, making him feel like a hidden gem. On top of that, he's purple and green, my favorite colors. And my grandfather worked in construction. I would go on to work in construction as a teenager. I saw these vehicles the Constructicons turned into on a daily basis. It was so meant to be. Of course I would fall in love with him. But as an adult, I've found even more reasons to love him. Just to go through his character, Scrapper is brilliant. He is the single greatest engineer in the Decepticon army. He rivals Shockwave as an inventor. And yet, he's modest. Almost to a fault, he refuses to let any praise go to his head, and in fact, he will actively brush it off. Moreover, Megatron considers Scrapper to be one of the most important components of the Decepticon army. He outright states that Scrapper is the most important Constructicon, which is why he leads the team. But Scrapper never lets that go to his head. I want you to think about this. The Stunticons do not operate as a unit. The Combaticons have Swindle, who will actively sell out the other members of his team at a moment's notice. The Predacons are unruly, the Terrorcons even more so. The Constructicons not only fall in line with the other Decepticons, but Scrapper specifically is an ideal lieutenant. He is never power hungry. He refuses to allow personal ambition to get him away from his mission. And I want you to think, the Constructicons never have any infighting amongst them. They are the most well-behaved and on-level combiner team of them all. Even the Autobot teams aren't as unified as the Constructicons are. And it seems to be because they all respect Scrapper, and in turn, Scrapper respects all of his boys. In some ways, Scrapper feels like he should be an Autobot. The modesty, the level-headedness, the clear leadership attributes. The only things that make him a Decepticon are, 1, his absolute hatred of organics, but 2, he believes in the cause. He believes in the workers' paradise that Decepticons promise. Similar to Soundwave, Scrapper isn't evil, far from it. What he is an idealist, and he believes everything that Megatron says, even when the facts are pointing a very different direction. Scrapper's original toy came out in 1985, and this is a masterclass in KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. When you look at Scrapper, you can see the design has been captured incredibly well. Most of the Season 1 bots look nothing like their toys. Meanwhile, Scrapper, he's almost one for one, especially compared to a lot of the 80s boys. His transformation's nice and simple. You fold up the legs, fold down the head, and boom, you have a pretty nice payloader, all things considered. The colors are sharp, and of course, he forms the leg of Devastator. The fact that he's effectively a triple changer at a scale where he's only a little bit taller than the mini-bots, while still having a ton of character, Scrapper is easily my favorite Constructicon in terms of the G1 toys, and I would say he's one of the better, smaller toys to ever come out of G1. An ever so slightly different green was used on Scrappers released in Europe by the Milton Bradley Company. On top of that, you could have always gotten Scrapper in the Devastator gift set, both released in Takara Tomy markets and in the United States. To bring this debut year to a close, Scrapper was included in the Destron Hero Collection 22. This decoy of Scrapper was originally only released in Takara Tomy markets. In 1986, we would get an oddity, yet another Scrapper release, this time in Europe, but put out by the company Justra as opposed to Milton Bradley, and this Scrapper was yellow. Going into 1987, you'd be able to get a decoy of Scrapper. He would be packed alongside the Throttlebots, the Combaticons, the Stunticons, or the Terrorcons. Early releases of the Throttlebots actually would have come with a red decoy Scrapper, one of the rarest decoys of them all. Popping over to Italy, there would be the GIG release of Scrapper. Again, very similar to other European Scrappers, it's the same toy with just very slightly different hues. In 1991, you'd be able to get Scrapper once again, either in Italy from GIG, or from the Greek company El Greco, as both of those companies re-released their own versions of the G1 Devastator gift set. In 1992, Scrapper's G1 career would come to an end, and we would have one more European exclusive yellow Scrapper. However, unlike the one put out by Justra, this Scrapper did not come with any of the pieces needed to make Devastator, nor did any of the Constructicons. If you were just chomping at the bit to get a yellow Scrapper, in 1992 you could have gotten the G2 Devastator gift set. This is very similar to that original Justra version in that they are the yellow construction vehicles, but still have all the components needed to combine. Weirdly enough, in 1993 there was yet another G2 Devastator, but this time it was orange as opposed to yellow. That said, I'll be honest, I kinda prefer it. Scrapper looks really good with this deco. After the fall of G2, Scrapper went into a long hiatus alongside his fellow Constructicons. There just wasn't a place for these boys during the Beast era, though it wasn't all bad. They went on strike and managed to win back their dental plans. And then Hasbro came crawling back once again in 2007. Sure, there were some blips on the radar, like the Michael Bay movie and Transformers Animated, but the thing that made Transformers a legacy, the thing that brought the franchise back bigger and better than ever before, had to be the Walmart exclusive Constructicon Devastator set. And who was there leading his boys? Unfortunately, not Scrapper. Scrapper actually got replaced as the leader because Hasbro wanted Devastator's central component to be the leader. But Scrapper was still forming a leg, he was still carrying his team. I will say, this is a very odd Scrapper. It's just a repaint of Sludge. And, in case you don't know, the Energon Combiners were definitely more inspired by the G1 characters than actually trying to make them new again. And so, this is a black and green construction vehicle, and if you squint, it might kinda look like Scrapper, maybe, but not really. This is a Scrapper in name only. The heartbreak would only continue into 2009. Imagine a young Ron Bondajon, who finds out Devastator is going to be in Revenge of the Fallen. And young Ron Bondajon has only just seen the G1 movie, and his favorite scene in that movie was when Devastator was ripping his way through Autobot City. I couldn't wait to see what they were going to do with Scrapper. Maybe he could become Megatron's right-hand man. Maybe he'd have a cool fight with Optimus. Oh, Scrapper's barely in the movie. He has like 3 seconds of screen time. And Devastator has a big doggy dick. That was the lowest point of my career. I don't know how I could continue being a professional Scrapper meat rider until I saw his Legends class toy, released in the Easy Collection. This is a really nice little bot. I like his proportions. Even though I'm not a big fan of the Bayformer design philosophy, I do think Scrapper looks nice. He's one of the better Revenge of the Fallen designs. And I even like his weird scissor hands. It makes me remember that he's an artist, just like Edward. In terms of his transformation, it's simple, but it gives you a decent little vehicle mode. And keep in mind, this tiny Scrapper still combines to form Devastator. And that Legends Devastator is the best Bayverse Devastator ever made, and still is to this very day. And yet, this is no longer the best ROTF Scrapper. More on that in a bit. Here to prove that bigger doesn't always mean better, there was the Supreme Combiner Class Devastator. This Devastator is a cool gimmick toy, but none of the Constructicons actually transform. I mean, Scrapper is here, it's just, I don't know, it's not the same if I can't see his handsome face. But hey, at least Scrapper got a Happy Meal toy. Or rather, he was a part of the Devastator Happy Meal toy. Scrapper would get a few more releases during 2010. For one thing, you could get the Walmart exclusive Legends Devastator, just the easy collection boy again, but now in a multi-pack. You also could pop back over to Japan and get the Devastator Origin color set, the Revenge of the Fallen Constructicons given their G1 colors. And even though I think most of them look really bad, Scrapper looks so nice. Look at him, he's adorable! Back in the United States, we would get our own G1 Revenge of the Fallen Devastator, this time a Toys R Us exclusive. However, they removed all the purple, and I actually think that makes for a better looking Devastator, but a worse looking Scrapper. 2011 would see the return of an old friend, as Encore Devastator was released in Takara Tomy markets. Alright, let's pump the brakes. Scrapper is not getting as much love as he deserves. Unfortunately, when you're a part of a combiner, especially when that combiner is Devastator, you tend to get lumped in on group projects. Not that Scrapper's ever complained, mind you, he's always made the best out of every situation he's a part of. But that does mean that I'm a bit hard-pressed to find good, individual Scrappers. Maybe third party could help sort me out. TFC came out swinging with Hercules, one of the very first combiners ever put out by third party or any Transformers company in the 2000s. And I quite love Structor. He's so good! Like an industrial reinvention of Scrapper. This is like mid-2010s PS3 attempting to be edgy try-hard Scrapper, and I am here to eat it up. One of the earliest Legend scale Devastators was the DX9 Hulky, and their version of Scrapper is good, perfectly solid. He's definitely been outclassed by more recent attempts at Scrapper at this scale, but for the time, this was really impressive. When Make Toys made Green Giant, they went a very similar route as TFC. That's to say, they just did their own thing. And Scrapper here looks really nice. Weirdly enough, the thing I focus in on is when he turns into the leg for Devastator. I love the big piston in the ankle. That's probably my favorite detail for this particular Scrapper. Generation Toy Scrapper feels so good. He's bulky, he's weighty, he feels like a toy made for children, something that a kid could ride on. And yet, he transforms, and he is for the adult collector. Painted to the nines, sculpted incredibly well. I like this Scrapper too. I'm realizing that this is literally just me slobbing the knob of Scrapper. I'm sorry. When you put me up to do this, Delinquent, you knew what you were getting into. I can't criticize my boy. I'm going to love all of them, even the bad ones I love. Okay, I said that. Toy World Scrapper is a little bit rough for me. I don't know what it is, but Toy World has found a way to take some of the easiest transformations in G1 and make them masterpiece nightmares. I don't really get how Scrapper's conversion became so finicky. And the design work is okay. It's definitely starting to get a little bit closer to the Sunbow look, which for some people was a good thing. But for me, this is when we start turning the corner in third party. It was, at one point, people just making their own designs and homages, but slowly but surely, it was all becoming attempts to match screen caps. Mecha Invasion did Giant Legion, and this Scrapper is heavy metal. I like this one. It's definitely a far more alien design than we've gone from a lot of the Constructicons, but he's still undeniably the same great Union boss. Alright, I've had my fun. Now let's talk about Sunbow Accurate. And for most people, they're gonna start with fans' toys. And of course he's beautiful. My husband will always be beautiful. But seeing him go back to how he looked in the 80s, I just feel bad for Scrapper. I want to hug him. I want to give him a cup of hot cocoa. I want to tell him, baby, you don't have to go back to the 80s. We love you here and now. But I'm worried that he would look back at me and he'd say, but I am Scrapper. I have to look like this or the people won't like me. I don't know why Fans Toys wants to give my husband some weird complex. They don't have to look like this anymore. But with all of my moaning to the side, this is a really nice Scrapper. The robot mode looks great, the transformation's actually pretty cool, and there's some legitimate mass shifting going on. Getting that payloader to go from a massive front shovel to having the tiny one on his back, that's a neat trick. I like that. X-Transbots is doing a Devastator, and Scrapper is also looking just magnificent. If I were in the market for a Sunbow Accurate Masterpiece Scrapper, this is probably the one I'd go for. Even though I've heard the transformation's very finicky, admittedly that's just going to be a reality with a lot of third-party combiners, but even still, Scrapper looks nice. The paint is really well done, I prefer the hues they've chosen for him, and even the sculpted detail looks a little bit sharper. It's not the rounded off edges of the cartoon. This feels like the manliest worker on Cybertron. Cut from a very similar cloth is the MMC Scrapper, and of course, we're dealing with two things I have a lot of bias for. I love Scrapper, I love MMC, I love this version of MMC Scrapper. I think that he's also very well done, though admittedly, he's a little bit rougher than some of the other Scrappers. Due to all of the Mastermind Creations combiners being built-in combiners, which is to say all the kibble is stored inside of them, it leads to many of the components having just a little bit more wonkiness than usual. And Scrapper, he's wearing the wonkiness well, don't get me wrong, but it is still there. Popping down to Legend Scale, say hello to Lucky Cat Scrapper. Yeah, I'm making sure to mention it now because I forgot Lucky Cat in the Devastator video and I've not heard the end of it since then. Hello Lucky Cat. Lucky Cat looks nice, Scrapper looks good. Talking about looking good, have you seen New Age Scrapper? They gave him the horn. They gave him the trumpet he used in the movie. And that's without getting to the fact that when it comes to Legend Scale, this is the best Scrapper. I'm sorry, it is. It plays the best, it looks the best, it transforms the best. Even though I think that New Age Devastator isn't the best Legends Devastator, this is the best Legends Scrapper, and I love him. I love him so much. Magic Square also knocked it out of the park with Scrapper. He's not quite the same level of oh my god excitement as the New Age boy. I'm sorry, if you don't get the trumpet, you're not going to get that reaction out of me. This is still a really nice Scrapper though, especially for the size. But let's get even tinier! Dr. Wu is doing a Micromaster Scrapper, and he is so cute! It's like a baby! Just to go into some really wild redesigns of Scrapper that are still going to come out soon, you have the 01 Studio Scrapper. This is done by the same group of people that gave us Fancy Cell, the third-party Masterpiece Unicron, and I'm digging this Devastator so far. I think Scrapper looks cool. Not my favorite reinvention of the guy, but still a solid one. I don't know what it is. Dreamstar Toys has kind of stolen my heart with their version of Scrapper. It's like everything I loved about TFC Structure, just grown up a little bit. This is 20 years of innovation of third party at work to make this guy. And I love him. I want to marry him. I want to carry his children. Alright, I've gushed enough. It's time for me to take my medicine. Here is the Devil Savior Scrapper, and just like their entire Devastator, I don't like it. The transformation's really bad, the toy's really finicky. It's a nightmare. This Scrapper kinda sucks. And yet, everybody wants to heap praise on it because they're like, yeah, but they got the design really well. And they did. They got this movie design as well as anybody ever before. In fact, they probably have done it the best out of anyone. It's still not a very good design. Alright, third-party Roundup was pretty fun. Admittedly, there's been a lot more experimentation with the Constructicons than I tend to think. I usually lump them in with the Dinobots, just assuming that everyone's going for G1 Accurate, but truth be told, up until these last few Devastators, every company was doing their own take on these designs, and I honestly prefer some of their designs to proper G1 Scrapper. But I can't keep my boy waiting. Let's go back to 2013, where we will see Scrapper once again assume the Sunbow look in the Devastator anime color version. This was a gift set, part of the Takara Tomy Encore line, and essentially it's just the G1 Devastator toy with more anime accurate colors. This is also the year where Scrapper would get some love from Creo. He was a part of the Destruction Site Devastator, and I want you to look at this build. It combines the Revenge of the Fallen design with the G1 look, and I actually really dig it. This is a great look for Scrapper. I hate that it's kind of trapped in Creo. Out of every Creo set I've ever covered on the show, this is the one I want to get, entirely because Scrapper looks really nice. This same Scrapper would appear in the Autobot Assault Devastator Toys R Us exclusive pack. It was not all sunshine and rainbows with Creo, though. Just look at the Microchanger Scrapper. They've massacred my boy. That's not even him. 2014 would give us a few odds and ends for Scrapper. For one, he appeared in the movie advanced series Devastator. This is just a far more painted version of that original ROTF Legends toy. He was also in the Loyal Subjects, and looks pretty cute. Hell, he even got to be the face on the box. That is prestige. There was also an orange version of him put out this year. And a yellow one, just in case you need the entire Scrapper rainbow. Mark my words when I say that one of the biggest years to ever happen to Scrapper was 2015. The year of Combiner Wars. In order to hype up this toy line, Devastator was given cover art status of Transformers Devastation. Hell, the game is named after him. Scrapper has multiple speaking parts in this game, as well as a sick-ass leitmotif led with an electric guitar. Everything I love about Scrapper is condensed here. In the 30 seconds of screen time he has, I know that's him, and it always breaks my heart to have to fight him. But get this. Open up your case of Transformers Devastation, and inside there was a flyer for Combiner Wars Titan Class Devastator. This was the second Titan Class figure they did, and in my opinion, one of the best ones still. Devastator is actually a really nice toy, especially considering everything that went into him. That said, the individual Constructicons had to pay a price in order to make Devastator work. I would argue that out of all of the Constructicons, Scrapper came out looking the best. Notice I said looking. He doesn't have elbows, which is kind of weird, but then again, they made my boy look so handsome. The colors are perfect. His paint is great. The colors are on point. His head sculpt is dreamy. The transformation's simple, sure, but then again, the front loader looks good. And when he transforms, the robot mode is going to stand there with the best of them. Had you gone to San Diego Comic-Con that year, you'd be able to get the same Scrapper, but with a chromed out chest. And of course, for the elitist amongst you, you could have gone the Unite Warriors Devastator, and their Scrapper has elbows! How wild is that? They actually managed to give him his articulation back. That said, I don't know, man, the Scrapper just doesn't look as good. They've made his face a little bit too dark, it doesn't pop as much. To bring a Titanic year to a close, Kids Logic would have included a super deformed Scrapper with their Devastator. I mean, after a year like that, Scrapper had to retire for just a little bit, if just to make sure he didn't start overshadowing Optimus Prime. But he did return in the 2018 Walmart exclusive Devastator reissue. This is just the G1 toys again, but with, again, a very slightly different green. And also, a rub sign that is unique to any other rub sign ever put on a Devastator before them. Going into 2020, it was time to redeem an old design. In Revenge of the Fallen, Scrapper never got anything better than the Legend Scout toy. And yet, in 2020, Studio Series would give us the Voyager Scrapper, and out of all the Revenge of the Fallen Constructicons, this is my favorite one. This same Scrapper would be released in the Devastator gift set just a few months later. Give it about 4 years' time, and one of my favorite toys of all time would come out. From Blocky's Galaxy version, it is Scrapper. I know it sounds like exaggeration, I know it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic. I love this model kit. It is the single model kit that made me go from liking Blockies to thinking that Blockies has given us some of the best toys of these characters ever. I know he's simple. I know he's basic. I know he doesn't have the most unique build, or the best paint, or the most accessories. But you want to know what he is? He is a single Scrapper that didn't have to sacrifice anything to make a Devastator. He was allowed to just be the best version of himself. And by God, he was perfect. I still love this Scrapper. I love him with all of my heart. And I think it is still the single best toy to come out of Blockies. Going into our current year of 2025, we have two final Scrappers, and they are near polar opposites of one another. Keeping with Blockies, say hello to the Defender Scrapper vehicle. This Scrapper is just the payloader. But if you don't live in the United States, you can get the upgrade kit from Blockies that will allow you to turn him into the foot of Blocky's Devastator. Yes, I am heartbroken that there is no way to obtain this domestically. And yet, even if he can't become Devastator, I'm so enamored with Scrapper that I actually do want to get this model kit, if for no other reason than just to have a little payloader riding around. I need to get a bit overly personal here. I want you guys to know that a big reason as to why I love Scrapper is because he reminds me of my grandpa. Keep in mind, my grandpa, the construction worker, worked with tractors. Scrapper sounds a little bit like him, acts a little bit like him. So as a result, as a little kid, I always thought of Scrapper as my grandpa robot. Well, that's why I wanted a toy of him. But there was never a way to get a toy of Scrapper. Being a kid in the 2000s, there was never any option for G1 Devastators available to me. Classics Devastator was too expensive. Titan Class Devastator, good God, there was no way I could afford him. What I wanted was just a Deluxe or a Voyager, a toy I could afford, but it never came. So maybe that's the reason why I love my Studio Series 86 Scrapper so much. This Scrapper is everything I ever wanted. A robot mode that is completely unimpaired. I know what you're going to say, oh, he has hollow forearms. I don't care. His articulation's great. He's pretty well sized for a Voyager. He's very well painted. And this just exudes everything I love about Scrapper. That nature of his, the personality, it leaks out of him. When I'm holding this toy, I can hear the voice. I can see why I fell in love with this character. And it feels like I've come full circle. Maybe as a kid, I could have never had a Scrapper. But as an adult, the Scrapper I always wanted, the one that I wish I could find just walking down a Walmart aisle, I was holding it in my hands. And as a result, this very well might be my favorite Scrapper of all time. Not because he's the best, but because he's the best for me. And I just know that if little childhood Ron Bondajon had ever been able to get this Scrapper, it would have been their favorite toy. And that's it. This video is incredibly self-indulgent, and I'm sorry for that. Like so many characters I love, a Thundercracker, or a Cliffjumper, or a Tarn, I have a hard time divorcing my fanboying for Scrapper from what I try to do on the channel. Usually when I'm doing the many toys of, I do my best to rein in some of my personality and try to give you a more objective overlay of the action figure history of this character. I just can't do that with some of them. Some of these characters are so close to me. Some of them are so interwoven with my memories of childhood or the memories of the bad times and how these characters helped me through them. I just can't be objective with them. Scrapper is very much one of those characters. He has always been on the short list of my favorite Decepticons. If you were to put a gun to my head right now and say, Ron Bondajon, name your favorite Decepticons, I honestly think it's Thundercracker and then right below him, Scrapper. And it's always been that way. I've always loved this guy. And I think it all comes down to the fact that, yes, he reminds me of my grandpa, but it's not just because, oh, construction vehicle, my grandpa's a construction worker. No, my grandpa is the single person most responsible for inspiring the person I grew into being. I saw the way he treated the people under him, and how it was always with the utmost of respect. And that resonated with me even as a kid. I've had a lot of really bad bosses in my life, but the only reason I knew they were bad bosses is because I saw my grandpa and knew that he was a good boss. And I see that same energy in Scrapper. Think about it, you never have an episode where Hook, or Long Haul, or Scavenger starts to try to undermine Scrapper. Even the other Decepticons respect Scrapper. In the Master Builders, when Megatron thinks that Scrapper was going to betray the Decepticons, he took Scrapper's word for it when he told Megatron that it was actually part of a secret plan. Scrapper is so trusted within the Decepticon army that even Megatron, whose near-defining characteristic in G1 was his paranoia and his wrath, even he was willing to hear Scrapper out and trust him. Scrapper is this really unsung character. I feel like he should be this model of great leadership, but because he's the leader of the Constructicons, and the Constructicons are such a niche team in Transformers, we never really get to see it. The Constructicons are a cohesive unit. They act like a family. They work together. Sure, they occasionally bicker, but it's never a point in which they're trying to hurt one another or betray one another. And the single moment that really shines a spotlight on who Scrapper is, to me, it's in the G1 movie. When all the Decepticons start squabbling over who should lead, Scrapper steps up and he says, "The Constructicons form Devastator, the most powerful robot. We should rule." Not I should rule. We should rule. Scrapper's mentality is so much the idea that he needs to build his boys up, keep his team happy. He never thought for a second that he should be the leader of the Decepticons. He might lead the Constructicons, but he doesn't lead through terror or through personality. He leads them because he truly sees it as a partnership. He's not demanding anything. He is requesting, and he is willing to accept feedback or other considerations. And when the moment arrives in which he could have seized power for himself, he instead wanted to make sure that all of the Constructicons got to have an equal slice of it. There is not a selfish bone in Scrapper's body, and in some ways that's a tragedy to him. He would be the perfect Autobot if he had ever made it to the side of good. But even when he's evil, he's actually still a pretty chill guy. Well guys, that was a long one, but it gave me an excuse to talk about one of my absolute favorite characters. Thank you again to Delinquent for requesting this on Patreon, if for no other reason than just to give me an excuse to gush about Scrapper finally. But on that note, I am on Patreon, and if you guys would like, you can support me there and help support the show. For $1, you get access to my Discord server, Moonbase1. For $5, you can watch videos early and download videos directly from me. And finally, for $10, you will become a producer, and you will show up in every video I make from now on. Thank you guys so much for watching a video like this. I know that it's some of the most ridiculous things I've ever said on an episode of Many Toys Of, but just know it's coming from a place of love. It's because I legitimately adore Scrapper and every version of Scrapper, and in some way, I think I'm still a bit enamored with this character. I can't get away from little 6-year-old Ron Bondajon falling in love with Scrapper's voice and his mannerisms. There's still that little kid in me that gets excited when he shows up. But on that note, thank everyone so much for watching, and we'll see what we get up to next time.